Hey guys, today's topic of conversation is stressed, and particularly, are you stressing yourself into a depleted state? Many people have a hard time coming to terms with how much stress affects our bodies and also what stress is to them. The reaction to stress within our bodies has literally kept us alive for millions of years. It protected us, it helped us to survive, and basically evolve from the time we were cavemen all the way through to now. Our body is literally wired to keep us safe. Now, combined with food, movement, and our digestive system, which I spoke about in other videos, which you can go back and watch, I think stress is one of the top players in how energized we feel. Our body is constantly scanning through our environment, both internally, so what's happening inside of us, but also externally, for basically any threat to our survival. For most of human history, the threat came to us in the form of famine, floods, fires, and attacks from neighbouring tribes or animals. Now, during these times, our body would work to preserve what was essential for our survival. So our ability to react and get away quickly, therefore direct all of our blood and nutrients to our arms and legs, so we could basically run, fight, whatever it took to survive. During the times of famine, our body would slow our metabolic rate down and help us preserve what stores, so like our body fat for energy and warmth, and the nutrients that we needed to live. Now, due to this innate need for survival, our stress hormones influence pretty much every body system and function. It includes our nervous system, our immune system, our digestive system, the balance of our sex hormones, where our body stores fat, and if it utilizes fat for energy. Now, our two main stress hormones are adrenaline and cortisol, both of which communicate different messages to our body and most definitely influence how well you bounce out of bed in the mornings. They also contribute to the food we choose and, to some extent, our self-esteem and self-love. So, adrenaline. Adrenaline is our short-term stress hormone. It's produced to help us get out of danger and get out of danger fast. It is the one that's produced, when you walk into a room and someone frightens you and you have that reaction. So the result in our body is mainly physical. So it's designed to help us escape threats. It makes us feel jittery, and despite our best efforts, it's kind of hard to calm down. When someone frightens you and your breathing sort of quickens, and it can be a little bit hard to feel centered. So this obviously shoots up our blood glucose level because we need to be ready to quickly fuel any defense or escape plans that we might need. Now, this does not provide any long-time concern as long as the danger passes quickly. Now, unfortunately, today, many people don't recognize this has occurred because it's kind of just normal for them. They are literally running on adrenaline all the time. Now, in the past, that danger in our lives was over pretty quickly. Let's face it, we either escaped, we died, or we won. There isn't much in our lives today that put us into danger in a life-threatening way. However, the danger that our body responds to is generally from psychological stress. Now, this in itself can produce adrenaline, and when adrenaline is produced, it pretty much communicates to every cell in our body that our life is at risk. Now, unfortunately for many, this psychological stress that we are dealing with on a day-to-day basis is never switched off. Now, it could be different for everyone. Your psychological stress could come from maybe you've hit the snooze button one too many times and now you're running late for work. The traffic is horrible on the way to work, your phone rings, work's wondering where you are, you're supposed to be in a meeting already, and again, that adrenaline is constantly pumping through your body. Maybe you've just returned from holidays and your inbox has 500 emails. You could even get that adrenaline spike from looking at your social media posts, looking at your own life, and then the kind of feelings that stir up in you. That's enough to produce adrenaline within our body and basically have that cascade of hormone effects running throughout our body. So I definitely use the words danger in inverted commas for good reason. There is a big difference between the danger that we used to experience in the past and the danger that we experience in modern day life. But the biochemical changes that occur from the production of adrenaline, that is the blood diverting away from our digestive system, which you would know from the previous video is needed for energy and the increased blood glucose levels, they served a very useful purpose to help us physically escape the dangers of the past. However, if your danger comes while sitting at your desk or scrolling through your social media feed, or even from a caffeine hit that you may have had, your body doesn't actually need the extra supply of blood to your arms and legs. It doesn't need the extra glucose in your blood. And our body will send out insulin to deal with this high blood sugar level, and insulin tells our body to store fat and not utilize it. This basically sets us up for blood sugar crashes, cue energy crashes later in the day, and result in us reaching for more caffeine and more sugar to try and fix it. Now, cortisol is our long-term stress hormone. This hormone comes into play during times when food is scarce. So you might be like a famine or a flood if there's a war going on. And historically, it was only produced at a time when we would experience long-term stress. So it's in those situations. Today, however, long-term stress can come from our relationships, come from financial hardships, can come from friendships, can come from health, can even come to the way we perceive our body shape and weight. I mean, I was going to say particularly for women, but I actually know a lot of guys nowadays that have a fixation on their bodies or even certain parts of their bodies. For instance, how often or how many times, or I'm sure someone's thought of at some stage in their life, I would give anything for no cellulite, thinner thighs, flatter stomachs, bigger biceps, nicer chest. It literally has us thinking from the time we wake up to the time we go to sleep, what should or shouldn't I eat today, coupled with how much exercise will I or won't I get done. There is sometimes a constant monologue in our minds of not being good enough, not having enough time in the day. And this in itself can easily lead to a chronic state and that increased level of cortisol in our body. Now, this signals our bodies to change where we store fat. It decreases our metabolism to save our, conserve our energy. So it also decreases our energy, so we're actually not going through our reserves as much. Now, cortisol is not all bad. I mean, if we're making a lovely optimum amount, not too much, not too little, it's actually really good anti-inflammatory. It allows us to buffer a bit of insulin as well. So basically, it allows us to help burn our body fat for energy without the fluctuating blood sugar levels. But that's when it's made at its optimum amount. Now, our levels of cortisol work on a circadian cycle. So that's sunrise to sunrise. And it basically differs throughout the day. So in the morning, our cortisol level should be high. Gets us up in the morning, makes us feel full of life. At lunchtime, it will drop slightly. And by dinner, it would have dropped again to its lowest point around 10 o'clock, hopefully allowing us to stay asleep and stay low. And it'll probably start rising again before its peak at 6 o'clock to help us wake up. So the first sign that you might be experiencing sort of chronic stress could be from a dysregulation of this sort of daily cycle of our cortisol. In the morning, it still might be at its nice peak, but maybe in the evenings it doesn't drop down the way it should. Therefore, you might be able to fall asleep, but maybe you have interrupted sleep. Maybe it's the opposite way around. Maybe you sleep really well, but it doesn't go down far enough. So in the morning, you're actually not getting that nice little peak that you should do. Now remember, cortisol tells every cell in our body that food is scarce. And as we are wired for survival, our body deliberately slows down our metabolism. By doing this, we basically preserve some of our nutrients, some of our fat, and which is basically our body's main source of energy and warmth. So to help with this, cortisol then also helps break down some of the muscles, because let's face it, muscles use a lot of energy. So they will actually start breaking them down. Now, in the movement and video, you would know that I spoke about how muscles actually make our energy. So the more muscles we have, the more energy we can make. So if cortisol is breaking down our muscles, our energy will decrease. Now this can happen whilst we are sat on our bottoms worrying about our finances, our relationships, or even the way we look. In today's society, we are very well aware that carrying too much body fat is not ideal from both a health and a vanity standpoint. High levels of cortisol can be a bit of a challenge for those who equate eating less with losing weight. If you are in this high cortisol state, so high stressed out state with your cortisol high, and you reduce your calorie consumption, you have just confirmed to your body what it already thinks, that food is scarce and your metabolism will slow further. So the best treatment for any kind of stress reduction is breathing. Yep, as simple as breathing, but it's diaphragmatic breathing. Now this involves breathing right down into your tummy and not just into your chest. Many people nowadays just breathe into their chest. So a lot of people actually can't get their breath past their heart. And you know what? That is okay. Like anything new, it will be about practice. You also may need to unlearn a pattern of breathing that your body has been doing for a long time. So really approach this with some kindness and curiosity. And the best way to do this, I'll take you through it. Now you can either be sitting up or lying down. I want you to place your hands on your lower belly, just above your pubic bone. Now you can close your eyes for this or not. I always think it's nice to close your eyes. But if you take a deep breath in, I want you to try and pull your breath all the way down to that spot in your belly just under your hands. So really breathe into that spot and then begin to fill up underneath your rib cage and then out into your ribs and into your chest. Pause and then slowly release it back in the opposite direction. So release it from your chest, through your rib cage, and then emptying your tummy out last. I want you to do that 5 times and just see how much different you feel from when you did it, from how you felt when you started to how you feel at the end. So 5 times is really deep breaths. Now this actually may be tricky and uncomfortable at first. If this is the case for you, start with just moving your tummy in and out as you breathe. And then as you continue to practice it, you'll find it easy to fill up your tummy and then your chest in a really nice, smooth, controlled rhythm. And the key is to really extend that exhalation. That will really help bring that stress down. Now, please remember, it's what we do every day that impacts our energy and our overall health and wellness. So just start making really small, deliberate choices each day that help add to your energy bank and not deplete it. I hope this has really explained stress and how it can really affect us. And I just hope that, you make a few different decisions going forward in your day. Or even if you do feel yourself in that little bit of a stress state, just do 5 of those deep belly breaths. In the morning when you wake up, maybe after a stressful run on the way to school, maybe something stressful at work happened, and just before you go to bed. Like just take your time and really just do those nice breaths to help reduce some of that stress. And I guarantee you will notice a difference in your energy.